Welcome back, everybody. I am Alan Gustafson, the crew chief of number 9 Napa Chevrolet and the host of Behind the Nine. I'm pretty excited this week. We've got a very, very interesting character we get to talk to. So without further ado, let me introduce the jackman for the number 9 Napa Chevrolet, Tyler Jeremy Semke. What's up, TJ? How are you, man?
Hey, how are you? I'm good. I'm really excited to be talking to someone for a little bit. That's the highlight of my week so far, my big busy week.
Your story and how you got to jacking the 9 car is super interesting. So I've learned a lot doing a little research for this, and I'm really curious to hear you explain with some details. So played obviously avid football player, play a lot of high school football. I'm assuming you were pretty successful in that endeavor. Looking forward to going on to college, sounds like, and then you fractured your vertebrae. Ouch.
Yeah, not good, not fun.
Good.
So yeah, that's kind of my junior year of high school. Actually, I wish I had a cooler story, but I actually kind of heard it on the bus. We were going to a long game or a long bus ride rather in Joplin, Missouri, which was an hour and a half bus ride. And I'm sitting in the very back, and as we're getting closer there, obviously bus seats aren't the most comfortable, school bus seats to be riding in for that long. So sitting in there, and then we just hit a big bump. I don't know if it's a speed bump or what, but I just felt something. I was like, man, this is the worst thing I've ever felt in my life. And of course, at that time, I was a big two-way player. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can't not play. I'm not going to not play. So I played the whole game, and they're like, oh, we'll just put some icy hot on your back, and you'll be good to go, right? Yeah. And turns out it was the next morning. By the time I got home, I had to have my mom dress me, you know what I mean? So like take me out of my football, how embarrassing is that, being, a teenager already, having to have your mom dress you, right? It's like, wow, this is something serious. So going to see a bunch of specialists and stuff. And I'm like, man, football, it's probably about done for me. So I started feeling good enough. I was like, I'll play my senior year. And, I had, the recruiting process, you got guys come take you out of class, in high school and talk to you and try to get you to go to their program or this or that. And I entertained all that for a little bit, but I'm like, man, I just can't do this. It's too much pain and it's not worth it to me. I'm like, I want to play catch with my little kid one day. I don't want to, go play football. And, and at the time, I wasn't like that confident in myself, to say, oh, I'm going to be a starter or something. I'm like, I might be going here and busting my butt for no reward. So I ended up going to KU, and I sat out for a year, and I was like, you got to remember, I've played football since I was 4 years old to now, I'm about 18. I'm like, that's a long time playing ball. I'm like, what do I do? Like, I'm supposed to be playing ball right now. So I sat out for that year, and I actually saw an ad in the Kansas paper, probably like a 4-inch by 4-inch little ad that said walk-on tryouts. This is when Charlie Weiss first got there. And I was like, yeah, I could do this. I'm like, these guys, I'm looking at their roster. I'm like height and weights and stuff. I'm like, there's nobody on this team, I promise you, that's stronger than me, probably faster for sure. But I'm like, I can hang with these guys. So I went and did the tryout and ended up making the team out at Kansas, which was a surprise, but not a surprise, but it was an exciting thing, kind of brought back that football career to me and had another opportunity to play, which was pretty exciting at the time.
So I got this article from Sports Illustrated, which is a great article. And actually, I think we need to solicit SI to do part 2 to this, right? Because this is a really good recap on kind of your history, a lot of those things you're describing, and stops with your walk-on career at KU, but it doesn't carry on and continue your NASCAR career. So I think we need to solicit SI to come back and do part 2 of this. But between that, if I'm reading this correctly, which your bounty hunter experience is famous around HMS, right? Between the high school injury, not going to play football, kind of sitting out, walking on, you went and did some bounty hunting with your mother's boyfriend. Is this correct?
That's correct. And like I said, I sat out for a year. So like, I'm used to putting my hands on somebody, all the time. Now I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I can't play football. I guess I'll go find someone who needs some roughing up and do just that to him. But yeah, that was that kind of all happened. My mom started dating this guy, Mike, and he was a bail bondsman. And I was a big, I watched, come home from school, watch TV. I'd always watch Dog the Bounty Hunter. And I was like, wait, so you actually do what Dog the Bounty Hunter does? I'm like, you're a real life bounty hunter. And he's like, yeah. And he's been doing this forever. So he's got a bunch of crazy stories. And so I'm like, please, like, will you just take me with you? And, my mom's like, absolutely. I'm the baby boy. I got a brother who just turned 46. I got a brother who's 36, and then I'm 27. So I'm the baby by far. So my mom's like, absolutely not. You'll get hurt. You could do it, Well, eventually one night he called me. He was like, you ready to go? And this is late. It's like probably 2 a.m. I'm like, for what? He's like, we need you. And I'm like, okay. And turns out he didn't really need me, but he's like, okay, you just hold this flashlight, watch how things work, and then maybe we'll take you another time. Okay, so I went with them. I'm like, this is cool. We all meet up at this gas station, bunch of guys with guns and tasers, and I got my flashlight ready to shine somebody. And so I'm like, all right. They go there and they find this house with a guy, he's in it. They saw him in there. So they're screaming, yelling, trying to kick this door down. And this is an old house when they used to build doors pretty solid and door frames, so they're trying to kick it down. And I'm like, watch out, so
Watch out,
I give it a boot, kick the door down, and then I'm like, oh wait, I didn't think this all the way through. Now what do I do? I'm like,
standing there like, hello.
I've never seen a picture of this guy. Okay, so I'm looking for a guy. This guy's trying to climb out the window to get on the roof to probably jump down and run away or whatever. Well, I grabbed him and just slammed him, and everyone comes running up there, and I'm like, give me the handcuffs. And I never handcuffed anybody in my life. I'm like, you know what I mean? And I'm just, my adrenaline at that point was just insane. I was probably trembling, shaking. But from then on, he's like, man, like, you did pretty good. Like, we'll take you from here on out. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how all that got started. And from then, if he needed me to, if it was going to be someone who was a physical guy or someone's going to run, he would call me and I'd give him a hand.
Tell me about your transition to getting from KU to HMS, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, so I had heard a little bit about this NASCAR stuff actually from one of our graduate assistants. His name was Mario, and he actually played with John G. Played football.
Nice.
Or he was John G's. He knew John G from UNLV.
So for the people who don't know, John G, which I'm sure he'll be on the show at some point in time, is our gas man. He played football at UNLV. So that's John G when we're referring to John G.
Yeah. So John was talking, and he was telling me about NASCAR, and he's like, yeah, this guy, my buddy John, he works at NASCAR. He's like, it's cool. He's like, he jacks the car up, and they change the tires this fast, and he's got that jack under the car before the car even stops and stuff. And I was like, that sounds cool. I'm like, those guys get paid at all? Like, is it like a job? Like I didn't know, like I said, football, right? I'm a football guy, ball sports, didn't know anything about it. I'm like, so is that like a real thing? Is that like a weekend, like gig, whatever. And so he started, telling me a little bit about it. And then kind of as, you get toward your senior year in college, they started having kind of job fairs and stuff. And they had a NASCAR, like the Drive for Diversity program. They had that there. And, looking for some guys I actually played ball with actually went through that program and are still working on pit road in some capacity. But, so I've heard the rumblings about it, but my focus at the time was I was going to, trying to do the NFL thing, right? I was training for the combat or my pro day rather. And, talking to my agent, talking to some teams, I went to the camp with the Saints, mini camp with the Saints, and, kind of was trying to go that route initially. And so our pit coaches, right, they go to the Kansas race. Yep. And all of our equipment guy, Jeff Himes, we call him Heimer, he has a RV out there at the Kansas Speedway. So he always brings all the Kansas coaches, get some passes, and then he knows Keith Flynn really well, one of our pit coaches. And so, they go out and they do the recruiting. They're like, you guys got anyone that would fit this mold? We're looking for someone, the type of guys that Hendrick brings in, right? And they're like, oh, we got a perfect guy for you. So then they came to me about it and said, would you be interested in this? And at that time it was kind of football or what, right? I didn't really have a plan B, a strong one at least. So I'm like, why not, right? And at that time, they had already had their combine that Hendrick hosts, which they brought in for my class. They brought in 200 guys, for the combine, see how high they can jump, how fast they are, how strong they are, all those types of things. Well, I didn't actually get flown in for that to do that. So I was like, what can I do? So they basically told me everything to do, and I had to film everything with my strength coach at Kansas, film it, send it all to them. And so I was like, man, I hope they give me a shot, because, it's different seeing a video of someone and then actually seeing someone in person and being able to shake their hand or feel how big their hand is or talk to them, look them in the eye. I was like, man, I'm losing that advantage. But fortunately, they brought me in to their mini camp they have after the combine. So it went from about 200 guys to 35 they brought in. Put the jack in your hand, put the pit guns in your hands, and see how you actually do with that stuff. And I felt like I did really, really well. And, a couple weeks later, I get a call from Keith Flynn, and he said, you got the job, which was pretty exciting. And at the time, I think it was like July 17th. My lease is up July 31st. So I'm like, okay, I got this job. I guess I'm moving. Right. I haven't seen anything, signed anything, nothing. I'm just been told, hey, you got it, man. Okay. Like, didn't know much about money. So my girlfriend at the time, wife now, we were like, okay, we're loading up and moving out there, I guess. You know what I mean? Just grabbed all our stuff, 3 dogs and 2 cars and came out. And, it ended up working out great. I love it out here, but it was definitely, that was a scary time for sure.
One thing that really impressed me is, so there's a lot of people that come through, a lot of developmental guys that come through that place. I see them all. I go down there and work out with the guys, but no one who's ever come through there went from a development guy to a frontline starter as fast as you did. You did it in like nothing, like a year, right? I mean, it was very, 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 very little time. So you adapted extremely well. Secrets, thoughts, comments, like did it fit you? Did it fit your style? The explosiveness, the speed, the power, what was it? What drew you? What made that transition from playing football to never jacking, not knowing anything about a race car, not knowing anything about a pit crew, to do that in such a short period of time? What do you think the magic was there? What worked?
Man, I mean, it's hard to explain, just, because there's so much that goes into it, so much little detail, you know what I mean, on what makes you good and how to get good quick. But I think one thing that I pride myself on is being coachable, right? So if someone says, do this, if you do it exactly the way they say it, you know what I mean, you're being coachable. So I was like, this is a great opportunity for me to really listen and learn and do it their way. Playing football, it's hard to teach a college guy or an NFL guy, let's say, a new technique. Well, if you've never learned any technique at all, you can really learn it the right way and get going pretty quickly with that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to come in here, mouth shut. Not anymore. Mouth's open now.
Not anymore.
Eyes open, eyes and ears open, So I really watched other guys a lot, and I tried to mimic. I see what this guy's doing. I really like that. I don't know why this guy's doing that like that. It makes no sense to me. And kind of pick up things from guys and, add my own little touch on it at the same time.
You come through combine, the HMS, not the HMS, you come through, you send in your video, you go through that, you go through the development crew, you get on the 9 Cup car, you've pitted Xfinity cars, you've pitted trucks, you've pitted Cup cars, no experience. So of all that, what was your biggest mistake? What was your biggest, moment of your career?
Gosh, I've had a lot of them. Probably the biggest one, I guess, when you say a oh crap moment, the moment when you think, Well, I'm fired. One of those moments was probably, and you'll remember this, Talladega. We had a great car, fast car, and very first pit stop, jacked the left side, and I mean the tire couldn't have barely touched the jack, but the tire, for those who don't know, if you barely turn the jack a little bit, the car drops. Well, the tire hit the jack handle and made the car drop. The left front tire was only about halfway out, so when the car dropped, it took this beautiful Little Caesars race car and just busted up the left front fender. And I was like, oh boy, like, and I think somehow we ended up strategy or probably strategy and chase both combined got us back to the front. And I'm like, whew, thankfully. And we ended up staying out in front, all the Chevys out in front, and we ended up winning that race. And I remember coming up to you after the race saying, sorry about your car, man. So I'm glad we ended up winning that race, because I think that kind of got forgot a little bit. But at the time, that was a long day, just sitting on a tire watching the race, going, man, please, I hope we do well and this doesn't kill us. So
the beautiful thing about that, which I do remember that day very well, and that was the first stop. We might have been leading actually when we had that first stop, but yeah. So Nick's pulling the tire out. Tire hits I guess the left rear tire hit the jack handle. I can't remember exactly, but we pulled the left front tire out. We get damaged. The good thing about that is that car will, for always, the die cast, everything else will have that nice black tape job on the left front fender, so you can remember that for the rest of your career. So I got to ask you, everybody calls you TJ. You got to have another nickname. Like what nicknames? Is that it? There's nothing?
Man, so I've had a few. None of them have really stuck. But the one that I had in college for a short period of time. So in college, just to give you a little background, in college, right? I'm pretty new to the team. Kind of guys poke at you, whatever. So I had 2 half sleeve tattoos. You see my tattoos.
Yeah. And
I used to have my full head shaved, completely bald, no beard, just bald as can be. And some of the coaches, on a college staff, you have so many coaches. There's probably got 50 coaches and GAs and all this stuff, and they don't know your name very well. So our defensive coordinator at the time, Clint Boyan, he told us that, or he told me, he was screaming for me, and he's like, hey, prison yard. And I'm like, prison yard? I'm like, who is he talking to? They're like, you, bro. He's talking to you. You're prison yard. And so then you get 105 guys out there calling you prison yard. I'm like, great. Like, so thankfully that didn't stick.
It's a super interesting history, super interesting past. Made your way all the way to the top step of NASCAR, which is amazing, from football to bounty hunting to NASCAR. And we do need to get SI to do this. We need to ask, SI's got to finish. I love the title of this article, Rock Chalk Headlock. That fits you like pretty perfect.
Is that what it is? Great.
Yeah. TJ Semke, part-time bounty hunter. Perfect. September 2nd, 2015. Yeah, we got to get that picture of you up. So yeah.
We need a round. We need the story's still being written. We need round 2.
The story's being written. We need to put some more wins on it. We need to put a championship on it. So
absolutely. Awesome. And I like what you mentioned earlier. I look like a WWE. That might be what's next after NASCAR. That's at the top of the list. Wow.
That is what's next. There's no doubt in my mind. There is no doubt. I'm going to be your agent because I know that's going to happen.
That's what we need. I need an agent. I need more tattoos, and I need to be a WWE superstar. That's the goal.
Hey, man, I'm sure they'll get you all baby oiled up and you'll be ready to go.
That's all I need, baby oil. Step 4, baby oil.
Baby oil. All right, cool, man. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. Appreciate it.